Hey, math friends. So our learning target today is I can calculate simple interest. I apologize if there's a lot of static in the back of the video. On my last video, for some reason, it had a lot of static in it, and I can't figure out why that's happening or where it's coming from. So sorry about that, about the static. It's probably annoying on your end. So simple interest can be a good thing or a bad thing from you. So by definition, it is the money that is either earned or paid on the principal, the starting amount of the money. So if it's earned and it's your bank account, you start with the money that you put in, and then the bank will pay you an interest, although the rates aren't super great right now. So that can be positive, but also can be negative when it's money that you owe. So we're going to break that down into the formula. So the formula for simple interest is this. In order to figure out how much money you earn or pay, you take the principal. We'll go through this more all the way throughout the course of the lesson, so don't freak out if you don't understand the vocabulary yet. Principal means the starting amount, the amount you start with. So it's either the amount that you borrow, not good, or the amount of money that's in your account, good. You multiply that by the rate. Rate is always given as percent, like 3% or 2.5%. The tricky part of that is we do have to convert to decimal, but that's pretty fast once we talk through just a matter of moving a decimal. And then the time has to be measured in years. So that's great if we're talking about an annual, like 3 years or 5 years or something. If it's in terms of months, we'll have to adjust to that. So to figure out how much money that you earn or pay, called interest, we simply multiply the amount of money you start with times the rate in decimal form times the time in years. So that's the formula, known as simple interest. A lot of math teachers will call it the PERT formula. Same thing. All right, let's go try some examples. So using the PERT formula, and you might not have the P and the R and the T down yet, so I'll cover that. Every time I go through a slide, I'll cover those definitions over and over so you feel more confident with that language. So 2 parts of the question here. What is the simple interest after 3 years? So we're going to start with that question. So if we use the formula, interest is equal to the principal. You put $500 in the savings account. That's the beginning amount. That's what we call the principal. All right. Let's see if I can move this over here. I don't think I can. So I'm going to actually pause the video for a second and see if I can switch. All right. So I'm starting that over. Hopefully I moved some things on the screen and maybe it helps me out. The principal is 500. The rate, tricky part, is 3.5%. We're talking hundredths. This percent is out of 100, so we have to get this out of 100. The trick of that is to move this 2 places to the left, divide by 100. So this here is what our rate is. So our rate then in decimal form, that has to be decimal form, you guys, can't go in as a percent, is 0.035 by moving the decimal 2 places left. Here was the decimal right here. We move it 2 places to the left. Boom. Multiplied by the time measured in years. Years given is 3. And this is how we calculate. So we just take 500 multiplied by 3.5% as a decimal is 0.035, as written on my screen, times 3. So you end up getting that it's $52.50 placeholder. You'll notice that your calculator is missing this 0 right here. Make sure you plug it in. Make sure you pause the video. Just because I'm solving at a certain speed doesn't mean that you should be. You just pause the video. Don't make it complicated. Just pause it, solve it, push play, see if you got it right. All right. So that's how much you earn. This is good money. This is positive earned money because it's a savings account over the course of 3 years. So balance means how much do you have now? So it's 500 that you started with. You get all that money back. That's your savings account. Plus the 5250 means that your balance would be 552.50. Now, guys, that's free money. That interest money that you earned is free. You get all the money back that you started with. and you get this free money from the bank or credit union or wherever you're storing your money. Now, I will be honest with you that most banks are not paying 3.5%. Most banks are paying like 0.5% or 1% or something very, very minimal. So unfortunately, this was like a more exciting problem than real life because most banks are not paying that rate. But the beauty is it is free money, and it is something that benefits your bank account by letting your money sit in the savings account. So yay! So that's interest. We're just multiplying. Just a quick review of what we did. The money that we start with, boom, times the rate does have to be converted from a percentage. You do got to convert by moving 2 places to the left on the decimal. And then we multiply by the time measured in years. And we get our interest, the amount of money that you earn, and you add it to your principal, and you figure out that you now have, after 3 years, $552.50. So that's a positive scenario. Let's try maybe another positive scenario. Yeah, let's try this. You put $1,000 in a savings account. That should be your principal. You should be thinking principal there. The account earns $100 simple interest. Ooh, over the course of 4 years. I probably shouldn't have done this one right away, but oh well. Over 4 years. This one's going to actually work a little bit different. I probably should have waited on this one, but that's okay. Let's do it. Interest is equal to principal times rate times time. Cool. So now, this problem, we plug in what we have. The simple interest that was earned, we know that this time. Again, this is a very big twist on things for me to go to, but we're going to do it. 100 is the interest that's earned because it tells you it is the interest that's earned. That's your I. Your principal is the amount of money you start with. It's right here. It's $100, $1,000 rather, $1,000. Your principal. Your rate is unknown this time, and in math we use that as a variable. So that would be our unknown. This is going to require us to build house, build fence, clean yard. That's what I mean when I say I twisted this on you pretty quickly. But that's good probably for that you can see there's always a different angle into the problem. And the time measured is 4 years. So let's talk through what I just did. The principal is 1,000 starting amount. The rate is a percent that's unknown. We're going to solve for that. And the time is 4 years. What else was given to us is how much money that you earn. But what we don't know is what is the rate that the bank paid. Okay, cool. So now, we are going to solve this for rates. And it does have to be in terms of a percentage. So rates, here's our rate. So we're going to divide all of this by the product of these two numbers. So some of you can do that in your head. 1,000 times 4 is 4,000. And if you can't do that in your head, no big deal. Throw it in your calculator. But I'm going to divide that all by 4,000 because that's the product of those. Copy, paste, copy, paste. Cool. So those cancel. So I'm looking for the rates, but it does have to be a percentage. So we'll get there. And we have 100 divided by 4,000. And when I do that, I get 0.025 is the rate in decimal form. But I need it to be a percentage. What percent is the bank advertising? You probably have seen it on the news before, or an infomercial or a commercial where maybe a bank has a certain rate, the mortgage rates, or a car loan rate. They're offering like a certain APR. That's what we're talking about here. So we're going to move the decimal 2 places to the right to get the decimal into a percent. Boom. So the bank is offering a 2.5% rate. So we had to move the decimal the opposite direction to get the percentage. That was definitely a big twist on events. I did go to kind of a hard problem on the second problem, but sometimes challenging our brain and digging deep without doing the same thing over and over maybe would benefit us. So I'm going to think of it as a positive. So let's talk about this question quick. Just get some ideas. Then we'll try some more. In each situation, tell whether you would want a higher or a lower interest rate. So your answer to these are either going to be higher or lower, and we only have 2 questions. If we're talking about the interest rate, the percent of money, the percent, If you're borrowing the money, do you want it to be high rate when you borrow that you have to pay, or a low rate that you borrow that you have to pay? Thinking, thinking, thinking. If you have to pay the money, do you want the rate to be high or low? You should have said lower. So the percent that you owe, which of course we convert to decimal, you want that to be lower if you have to pay it. You've borrowed the money. So on the contrary then, if you open a savings account and you're earning the money, do you want the rate to, if you're earning the money, do you want the rate to be high or low? You would want it to be higher. And as I stated, most banks are not paying a super high interest rate. So there's something to think about of when you would want the rate high when you're earning it or low when you're paying it. Okay, so let's try this example here. I don't really like that one either, you guys. I think I have too many things going on. Too many things going on in my slides. I think I'll come back to this one. Oh. All right, so let's try this one, I guess. You deposit $300 in an account that earns 7% interest. So the words that you should be hearing is, that's my principal, that's my rate, but I'm going to have to turn it into a decimal, and the time has to be measured in years, and we have a little situation there, but we'll figure it out. So to calculate the interest, we're going to take the principal, which is 300. Cool. We're going to multiply it by the rate. Now check it out. 7%. 7% is really 7/100ths, right? So we're going to move the decimal 2 places to the left. 1, 2, lock it in. So that goes 7/100ths as a decimal, 7/100ths. And then we're going to multiply it by the years. Now, we are not given years, but no big deal. 9 months is really just 9/12ths of a year. 9 out of 12. It's not 12 out of 12. 12 out of 12 would be 1 year, right? So 9/12ths of a year. So just make it a fraction out of 1 full year. And you can easily just use the division sign in your calculator to calculate that. So I'm going to talk you through those steps of how to get that. All right, so cool. So we go 300 times 0.07 times, and when I type this in my calculator, I'm going to simply hit 9 divided by 12 in that parentheses. So 9 divided by 12. I'm even going to use a parenthesis on my calculator. Do it. Pause that video. Try it. Please try this. It's so important. So you end up getting $15.75 is the interest that is earned in 9 months. Now, I've not totally answered the question yet because the question says, what's the balance after 9 months? So my balance after 9 months would be my principal that I get back, cool, plus the interest that I earn. So for a grand total of $315.75. So some of you say, well, I only earned $15, but you only had the money in the account for 9 months. I'm going to type that in again. I'm just double checking my work there. Cool. $15.75 is the interest earned. The balance then would be $315.75 in 9 months. Awesome. All right, I'm thinking one more for today is probably plenty. That one's very similar. I'm going to skip those ones. Yeah, let's do this one. Maybe. If we were in class, we'd be doing a lot more of these approaches to the different scenarios. All right. A music company offers a loan to buy a drum set for $1,500. So all of y'all should be thinking, oh, there's my principal. Got it. Boom. It's asking for the monthly payment. Now, this is a different level. There's one more layer to this now. Okay. So let's see what we know. Over here, we're finding out that the payment's going to happen for 2 years. And we have 11.8% simple interest. Cool. So the interest, let's first of all figure out the interest that you will have to pay. Now, this is not a bank account. This is money you're borrowing. That means you have to pay the money, right? So the principal is $1,500. Cool. All right. And the rate is 11.8%. 11.8% is 11.8 out of 100. So we're going to really be dividing by 100. So we move the decimal. Come on, pen. Work for me. Work for me. 2 places to the left. Boom. Lock it in. So that's 0.118. And yes, you could have a 0 out front, but I simply don't have room. So that's how we convert the percentage of 11.8 to a decimal. And now it says in the problem that we are going to do that for 2 years. Cool. I mean, not cool, because you have to pay on that. I lied. So go ahead and multiply that out. So a principal of $1,500 is what you're going to borrow. You have to pay interest on that. In decimal form is 0.118. And we're going to do that for 2 years. We're going to borrow the money. Now, that means that you will have to pay $354 in interest. You're borrowing the money for 2 years. So we have to answer actually the question that was here. Is what is the monthly payment? Well, for 2 years, we're really talking 24 months in 2 years. Because 12 months in 1 year, which is 24 months in 2 years. So how much do you pay per month? This is exactly how it's calculated. So they're going to divide that up for your monthly payments. Now keep in mind that you have to also pay for the actual drum set plus your interest, right? Drum set plus your interest, which gives us $1,854 that we're actually going to have to pay back. So the drum set plus the money that you have to pay to borrow. It's not free to borrow stuff, right? We're going to divide that by 24 months. And we're going to calculate right now how much is our monthly payment over the course of the 24 months or 2 years. So here we go. 1854. This will be our last problem, guys. 1854 divided by 24 means that you're going to pay $77.25 per month. How long do you pay that? For 2 years. That includes the cost of the drums plus the cost of borrowing the money called interest. All right, so our summary for today's work is that interest is measured by principal times the rate times the time. Reminder that the rate has to be a decimal. To get the decimal, if it was 4.2%, you got to turn that into a decimal. So that becomes 0.042 that we're going to put in for the rates. Time has to be measured in years. So if you were given, let's say, 8 months, then it would be 8/12 going in kind of thing. So it does have to be measured in years. Principal is the amount of money you start with. So that's kind of the summary. There's a lot going on there, but I'm just going to end it there. If we were in class, we'd be doing a lot more digging in and problem solving and working together in groups. But this is the best we can do for I Can Calculate Simple Interest. Please reach out if you're having any trouble at all. Have a glorious night.